Good morning, Impression Hall. We're coming to you on this 15th day of December. It is a Monday, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matters. Get to the stories that matter today. Lawmakers have officially opened the bicameral budget deliberations to the public in a bid to assure Filipinos that the 2026 spending plan is free of corruption. The proposed measure is being dubbed an education budget, as the sector is set to receive a total allocation of 1.28 trillion pesos next year. Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson Commodore J. Tariela has branded the recent attack on Filipino fishermen as a serious human rights violation. This comes after 3 individuals sustained injuries when China Coast Guard vessels sprayed them with water cannons and cut their anchor lines in the West Philippine Sea. The medal haul for Team Philippines has climbed to 118 after another productive outing on day 5 of the SEA Games in Thailand. The country's tally now stands at 17 gold medals, 32 silver, and 69 bronze medals. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. Amid controversy surrounding allegedly anomalous flood control projects, lawmakers opened the bicameral budget talks to the public, aiming to reassure Filipinos that next year's spending plan is free from corruption. Here is the story.
After President Bongbong Marcos' latest State of the Nation address, allegedly anomalous flood control projects have come under controversy. To address public concerns over possible corruption in the 6.7 trillion peso 2026 national budget, the Bicameral Conference Committee meeting of the Senate and the House of Representatives on next year's budget was live-streamed on Saturday.
Binigyan ho namin ng malaking atensyon ang sektor ng edukasyon, malaking atensyon ang sektor ng public health at agriculture.
Ito ay isang budget na inyong mapagkakatiwalaan.
Even before the hearing formally began, Senator Amy Marcos immediately raised a question.
Ang tanging kulang lamang ay yung mahiwagang DPWH.
Senator Sherwin Gatchalian quickly clarified that the discussion on the DPWH budget were scheduled for the following day. The 2026 national budget was dubbed an education budget by Representative Mika Swansing. An additional 56.64 billion pesos will be allocated to education. This will bring the total budget for the education sector next year to 1.28 trillion pesos. With the increased funding, 114 state universities and colleges will be fully funded in 2026. Some 2.49 million scholars nationwide are also expected to benefit. Funds have also been set aside for a 180-day feeding program for malnourished students. Senator Kiko Pangilinan, for his part, expressed his hopes for future budget proposals.
Hopefully, from here, moving forward, sana sa susunod ng mga budget, maging universal na, hindi lamang doon sa mga malnourished, severely malnourished at wasting ng mga bata, kung hindi maging universal na itong free meals program.
On Sunday, Public Works and Highway Secretary Vince Dizon faced the bicameral budget hearing. He asked the Senate to restore the 45 billion peso cut from the DPWH proposed 2026 budget. From the House of Representatives version of 624.48 billion pesos, the amount was reduced to 570.48 billion pesos. Dizon insisted that he would ensure a thorough review of projects to prevent a repeat of anomalies like those involving flood controls.
Ang Pangulo po mismo ang nag-instruct sa akin na ibaba ang presyo ng simento, ng bakal, ng asfalto, ng graba, ng buhangin, at iba pang mga materyales na ginagamit sa pagpapagawa ng ating mga kalye, mga tulay, mga classroom, at iba pa.
Representative Rufus Rodriguez agreed with Dizon's request for budget restoration, saying this could be a step toward implementing projects that are free from corruption. However, Senator Amy Marcos and Senator Erwin Tulfo took a different tone during Dizon's appearance at the bicameral hearing.
Vince Dizon is no engineer. He's an economist and a political aide.
Dizon also clarified that there is no restoration of locally funded flood control projects in the proposed 2026 DPWH project. For News 5, Rainiel Pawid, we are One News.
The Department of Foreign Affairs says there's still no information on the whereabouts of former Congressman Zaldi Co. The DFA says the Philippine Embassy in Portugal has not received any report confirming Co's presence there or anywhere else in Europe. Co's canceled passport has since been flagged through the Bureau of Immigration and Interpol to prevent its use at international borders. Earlier, the NBI requested an Interpol red notice against Co, who has been declared a fugitive from justice by the Sandigan Bayan. Co is facing charges over his alleged involvement in ghost flood control projects. Vice President Sara Duterte described the alleged efforts to investigate and impeach her as another fishing expedition. Here is a report.
Another fishing expedition. That is how Vice President Sara Duterte described the complaints, including plunder filed against her. Along with 15 other officials from the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education by civil society leaders before the Office of the Ombudsman. The complaints stem from the alleged misuse of 612.5 million pesos in confidential funds from the two offices. In a statement, the Vice President said this was not the first time she had been subjected to attempts to find fault with her actions aimed at finding grounds for her impeachment. She also cited allegations that some lawmakers were seeking signatures in support of her impeachment in exchange for budget allocations. Vice President Duterte urged the public to be discerning and not fall for what she called smear campaigns against her. She said the issue is not about uncovering the truth, but about concealing the plunder of public funds, for which she claimed no one has yet been held accountable. Despite the controversy, the Vice President assured that the operations and services of her office would continue. Meanwhile, Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Laila De Lima rejected the Vice President's claims. De Lima questioned how the complaints could be described as a fishing expedition, citing the volume of evidence presented.
Nandyan na nga yung mga ebidensya. Ang dami ng mga ebidensya, voluminous. How can that be considered as fishing expedition? Ang fishing expedition presupposes walang ebidensya. These are voluminous evidence. Documentary, and of course we can expect testimonial and real evidence.
She said the filing of complaints against the Vice President was a positive development, adding that she had reviewed a copy of the complaint, which she described as more detailed in its allegations of the alleged misuse of public funds. The complaints will now undergo evaluation by the Office of the Ombudsman. According to De Lima, the Ombudsman's finding may serve as the basis for a new impeachment complaint against the Vice President. Recall that the Supreme Court previously declared the articles of impeachment against Vice President Duterte unconstitutional. The one-year ban on filing impeachment complaint is set to expire in February 2026.
And coming right up, budget watchdogs are sounding the alarm over the rushed finalization of the 2026 budget, citing potential risks to transparency in the process. We'll discuss that with Ken Abante, co-convener of the People's Budget Coalition, when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here on One News. Good morning, Impression On here at Morning Matters. We talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Budget watchdogs are warning that Congress's rush to finalize the 2026 national budget could compromise transparency. Civil society groups say the tight bicameral timeline leaves little room for debate and may open the door to last-minute insertions and unchecked amendments. This comes amid heightened public scrutiny following the flood control corruption controversy. And for the first time, lawmakers agreed to live stream bicameral budget talks, but governance watchdogs stress that speed should not come at the cost of accountability. Lawmakers aim to ratify the bicameral report by December 2022, with the president expected to sign the budget by December 29. To share insights on the bicameral conference, we have Ken Abante, co-convener of the People's Budget Coalition, joining us on Morning Matters. Welcome back to the show.
Morning, Gretch, and thank you for having us again.
Okay, una-una, the BICAM is now open to the public. It is a win, as you've noted, as many budget groups have noted. But where did you observe the budget BICAM from? Is it from home, or were you given seats at the PICC?
So, Gretch, the Bicameral Conference Committee was live streamed, and many budget watchdogs were watching until around 12:30 a.m. On YouTube. So that's where we observed the BICAM from.
Kasi may request din kayo kasi na mag-participate dun sa process. So mukhang live streaming lang this time. Okay. Kagabi, no, medyo naantala itong BICAM. Matagal actually, nakatuon din ako. Tapos biglang nawala, nag-break sila. Let's talk first about that. No, what happened yesterday with Secretary Vince Dizon being present at the BICAM. This is a unique step, bringing an executive official in. What did you note? And he was requesting to restore 45 billion in the DPWH budget. Ano yung napag-usapan niyo dito?
Siguro yung kahapon medyo nababahala kami, no, kasi yung Bicameral Conference Committee live streaming ay matagal na antala. Nasabi mo nga, I think dapat originally yung schedule 2 p.m. nag-start siya, I think near 5 p.m. na. And then tinatry naming i-check kung ano yung nangyari before, at sinasabi nila meron daw pagpupulong yung or caucus na tinatawag yung House saka yung Senate. At yun nga po ay ninote din namin na si Secretary Vince Dizon ay nandoon, no? And in the first hour, 1.5 hours of this Bicameral Conference Committee, yung naririnig natin, Gretch, ay nagtatalo yung House and Senate about around 45 billion pesos to 54 billion pesos ng mga Department of Public Works and Highways budget, no. Yung main contention during this time was how to use the construction materials price database in lowering the budget of the DPWH. So yun yung tinatanong ng mga kongresista at mga senador kay Secretary Vince Dizon. Pero yung major na nakita namin dito, nag-worry kami, no, kasi ito ba ay nagkaroon ulit ng small committee, nagkaroon ba ulit ng secret na pagpupulong, at ano ba yung mga na-decide doon sa discussions, no? Malalaman pa natin yan kasi hindi pa finalized yung DPWH budget, magre-resume sila mamayang 4:00.
But was it clear to you why the DPWH Secretary was asking for the restoration of the DPWH budget? Kasi yung number, sabi ng mga senador, galing naman daw sa kanila, dun sa incumbent. Ano kaya yung pinaka naging problema dito? Kaya sinusugurong ibalik yung budget na yon.
Oo, Gretch. So, yung nangyayari kasi, yung main na diniscuss nila kahapon, may around, sinasabi ni Sec Vince na around 45 billion pesos na na pagbaba doon sa budget ng Department of Public Works and Highways na kinat ng Senado, no. Ang sinasabi ng Senado, they were trying to clean up the projects kasi nasabi na doon sa mga flood control investigations na may overpricing doon sa mga specific projects. So yung ginawa ng Senado, coming from the construction materials price data regional averages ng mga presyo ng mga aspalto, ng semento, etc. In-apply yun ng Senado doon sa bawat isang set ng line items ng mga proyekto, no. The people in the House and also Secretary Vince in his request, sinasabi niya na if you apply it that way, posibleng may mga projects daw na unimplementable. So matagal na nagkaroon ng deadlock dyan yung House and Senate, no, kasi yun nga, tama actually yung Senado in terms of, checking the costs of these specific projects, in terms of their overpricing. I-approve ba nila yung isang overpriced na item? Yung pag-explain naman ni Secretary Vince kahapon, may mga items doon na kailangang sumunod doon sa mas tamang proseso or sa parang sa regular process ng kung paano ginagawa yung pagbaba ng presyo. Kasi mag-start siya sa construction materials price database, so ibababa yung presyo ng ibang mga raw materials para mas align siya sa merkado. Yung second step ay magkaroon ng program of works na tinatawag, Gretch, sa bawat isang project. And finally, dun lang per line item ng project level yung dapat pagbaba ng mga budget. So, yun yung parang major na pagtatalo. Yung hinihingi namin actually sa civil society ay yung listahan nung lahat ng projects na apektado nitong 45 billion peso na decrease na sinasabi nila na implementable or unimplementable. Yun yung hindi pa nasasagot doon sa Bicameral Conference Committee at kailangan ng transparency dito sa specific projects na ito.
Wait lang, so kumbaga parang in-apply yung pagbaba ng presyo ng construction materials sa unang listahan pa lang at hindi kasama dun sa program of works. Hindi ba parang pagdating sa program of works, I mean, it's still the same materials that go through that program of works, right? And pag kunwari may isa kang proyekto, pag presyo lang naman ang ibababa mo, hindi naman magbabago yung quantity. So, what's the struggle there?
So yung main na sinasabi ay dapat may program of works muna para may assumptions ng kung, 'di ba? Kung gaano karaming asfalto, gaano karaming ano. So apparently in the cost assumptions of each project, hindi pa 'yun available. Na yun actually yung dapat na reforma. Yung dapat na reforma ay dapat transparent yung cost assumption sa bawat isang proyekto. That is something that I don't think the DPWH and Congress can still produce, no? And in fact, we raised this concern to Senator Gatchalian during the time that he consulted the CSOs in these hearings. At yung main na sinasabi namin, it feels like guesswork at this point, no? Yung pag-check natin kung tama ba yung cost per kilometer. Kasi nga iba-iba yung condition sa bawat isang project. So yung panawagan ng civil society ay sa budget preparation pa lang sa 2027 budget. At actually, kahit ngayon sa 2026 budget ay sana gawing publiko, isa publiko yung mga cost assumptions na to per project. No? Mukhang hindi ko alam kung kaya siya within the timeline. And we can share some findings we actually have, Gretch, on some of these projects.
Pero sabi nga ni Secretary Vince, medyo hindi kakayanin dahil 10,000 projects yung apektado dito. Does this mean that it might be not feasible to apply these reductions to the 2026 budget? And ano kaya yung parang pinaka practical application of the reductions? Of
Yung
the
isang naging
overpriced
major
materials.
yung nag-iisa major debate pa dito, Gretch, kasi I think both the House and Secretary Vince, sinasabi nila, i-restore mo na yung 45 billion or 54 billion kung ano man yung amount dito sa DPWH budget based on the pricing, and let the executive do its job to raise the savings, no? So kung naging mataas man yung project, halimbawa 150 million peso multipurpose building, pero may mga tanong kami tungkol dyan. 150 million peso multipurpose building, tapos gagawa nila yung program of works, yung multipurpose building na yun, gagawa sila ng tinatawag na approved budget for the contract. Doon na lang nila bababaan yung item, no? Kapag naaral na nila yung actual cost talaga. So may makuha silang savings because the approved budget for the contract that they approved was below the 150 billion multipurpose building budget per line item. And then the other point of contention was, what will you do with all these savings? Babalik ba yan sa distrito? Sino ba yung mag-a-approve? Yung sinasabi ni Secretary Vince dito, Gretch, it will be the president who will decide, no? But even then, we need to really, really scrutinize what happens here. I think by the end of the term, I heard a number na sinabi ni Sec Vince, around 60 billion pesos daw na savings from these potential raw materials change, no? Pero I hear also the main issues of the Senate when they were really raising red flags. They were alarmed that nagbago ng statement si
Secretary
kumbaga
Vince,
parang
yes.
parang hindi naman parang they were nag-back and forth sila about that point. Pero parang yung sabi nga ay, kung alam na natin na may overpriced, dapat may approve ng Kongreso na may overpriced. No? Tapos the main contention is how to apply that factor. Regional average ba or per project line item ba? And eventually, who should hold the power?
Yes.
Should it be the Congress or the President? No? At ang para sa atin bilang taong bayan, no, dapat accountable pareho. No, kapag the proper budget defense would have been 'di ba, hindi na dito sa BICAM dinidiscuss yan. Dapat na-discuss na yan nung House or yung Senate hearings.
Parang hinahabol na lamang ito.
Parang hinahabol, no? So nababahala talaga kami kasi ano ba talaga yung final list of project? Is it the House version? No, may ma-recover ba ng mga projects diyan na trinay i-clean up ng Senado? So in fairness to na sina Senator Win, no, at yung Senate delegation, they tried to do a clean up of these projects. And by clean up, I meant trinay nilang lagyan, Gretch, ng mga station numbers, specific locations, para hindi magkaroon ng risk of repeat, no, yung mga projects na to. And they tried to do the cost per kilometer changes na pababain siya given the detail that was given
But what
to the
would be your
DPWH.
proposal given the tight timelines? Siguro dito pumasok din yung usapin ng tiwala, ano? Na may tiwala yung mga senador kay Secretary Vince pero wala silang tiwala sa mga engineer niya within the department. Given the realities surrounding the DPWH, what would be your proposal?
Yung una, i-release muna yung listahan ng 45 to 54 billion kasi actually yung nakikita pa nga namin, no, even with the steps of the Senate to help improve that list and be more specific about the locations, may mga na-flag pa kami, Gretch, na mga items, no. So hindi lang 10,000, actually 17,000 yung projects na in-analyze namin coming from the list, no, 17,000 projects. We identify around 8,499 risks or red flags, amounting to around 144 billion pesos. That includes projects that are potentially risky, at risk of repeat, high cost per kilometer. May mga projects na parang very round yung figures. Halimbawa, maraming multipurpose buildings na 150 million pesos, 50 million pesos.
So it's still there.
Farm-to-market roads
Hindi pa
15
tinatanggal itong mga to.
pesos. Hindi pa tinatanggal, pero yung ginawa may tinanggal na iba. May mga ginawang mas specific yung location kasi yun yung pinush ng civil society. Pwede bang i-check natin kung yung farm-to-market road na ito ay konektado talaga sa national road? At hindi konektado doon lang sa property ng isang politiko. 'Di ba kasi yun yung isa sa mga main issues, no? Or i-check kung talagang at risk of repeat ito na project in the previous years. Yun yung modus ng half ghost project, 'di ba? Pinondohan na in the previous years, tapos popondohan naman or babakbakin yung isang kalsada tapos lalagyan ulit ng asfalto, no? Hindi yun maayos. So, nung chinek namin, in fairness sa Senate, no, nababa na yung risk na ito by more than 100 billion pesos. Pero may nakikita pa rin tayong around 144 billion. But really kudos to the Senate, no, for really trying to listen to civil society's inputs here, no. Pero ang karapatan ng mamamayan ay malaman kung ito bang mga proyekto na to ay para talaga sa development ng ating bayan.
Okay. Apart from the DPWH budget that was discussed yesterday, what other red flags did you see in day one of the bicameral conference?
So, yung other red flags na nakita namin, Gretch, ay may mga pork projects kasi kami or programs at risk of patronage na identify and we were watching 10 things in the budget. Yung isa sa mga nakita namin, Gretch, ay yung continuous increase ng tinatawag na MAIFIP, no, or yung Department of Health Medical Assistance to Indigent and Financially Incapacitated Patients. In-increase siya from 24 billion in the NEP to 51 billion pesos in the BICAM, no. So mas it hewed more closely to the House version of the budget than the Senate version of the budget. And matagal na naming sinasabi to, the system of guarantee letters under which the MAIFIP is based, it will worsen patronage, no? Kasi health is supposed to be a right, dapat karapatan ng mamamayan na makuha yung health services, at hindi kailangan dapat pumila sa politiko at magmakaawa. So yun yung isang nakita namin, MAIFIP. No? Yung second flag na nakita namin sa education, meron din kasing pork sa education, Gretch, unfortunately, that is called the CHED Tulong Dunong. No? Yung nakita namin dun sa version ng House, parang yung tulong-dulong may around 2 billion to 3 billion pesos na amount. Ito yung parang mga scholarship program, no? And yung narinig namin sa field, may control dito yung mga kongresista, parang guarantee letter system ulit. And we were pushing sana that this amount be put in the tertiary education subsidy para tunay na free college talaga, at universal free college yung implementation, no? At again, hindi mo kailangan pumila sa kongresista. So yung naging agreement dito ng House and Senate ay i-centralize sa CHED, no, para magkaroon ng clear rules. Kasi yung last time that they were discussing it, may ibang state universities and colleges, may tulong-dunong, may iba wala. No? So nagtalo rin dito yung ibang mga kongresista. And kailangan i-double check ng CHED. They were calling Chair Agrupis in the bicameral conference committee. So dun sa CHED, dun sa education meron din. And finally sa agriculture, no, meron ding pork around 10 billion pesos. So yung presidential assistance to farmers and fisher folk na 10 billion. I think sa Senate version, they removed this. We flag this as at very high risk of pork again, and we need to ensure that this is not used for politicking. No, so in agriculture also, they increased the farm to market roads projects from 16 billion to 33 billion pesos dito sa BICAM. Nagkaroon ng 2-hour debate on safeguards dito, Gretch. And yung major agreement nila, they keep the 33 billion pesos. Medyo nag-increase pa nga, no, for coming from the Senate. And kailangan ma-align ito sa farm to market road network plan, no, at ma-ensure na connected talaga ito sa mga highways.
Okay, you flagged the different pork projects across different agencies, and we could go on and on actually. But yung PCIJ is flagging this, no, the DPWH still having around 2/3 of its budget laden with pork. They still cite the alcohols and non-alcohols. But on a final question, how much time does Congress really have? Di ba kailangan maipasa lahat ng ito bago matapos yung taon? Bago siya maging reenacted budget, how tight are timelines, and what do you think is feasible at this point?
Tama, no, that the timeline is very tight, Gretch, kasi they plan to approve it on December 22nd. And dapat matapos yung approval by December 31st. I think everyone agrees that the worst case scenario is there will be a reenacted budget by 2026. Kasi it will mean that the 2025 budget will apply to 2026, and we don't want that to happen. I think yung major na kailangang gawin ngayon is to really look at the observations coming from the civil society studies. Kasi yun nga, education may malaking concerns, pero in-increase naman yung budget. Yung health, kailangan sumunod sila sa Supreme Court ruling na sinasabing dapat ibalik ng DOF yung 60 billion pesos. Pero kahit ngayon, kulang pa yung earmark para sa PhilHealth. No? Even with that 60 billion peso increase from the House to the Senate version, and I think the BICAM is going to adopt it. Pero hindi ko pa alam kung kumusta yung kulang dito. And finally, in agriculture and in public works, there really needs to be, Gretch, a system of monitoring each project, no? Para yung discussion hindi siya parang doon sa sobrang taas na level, no? Dapat makita kung sino yung pinaka nag-benefit from insertions from the NEP to Congress, and yung lahat naman na projects na natag ng civil society na risky, may isa pang recourse even if it's passed in this congressional version in the BICAM, is to flag them all for later release, no, so that the agency has time to explain it So the legislature has the power to a power of the purse, while the executive has the power to implement these projects. So part of the power to implement is asking the agency to explain a little bit more the cost assumptions behind these projects. So if Congress still passes many of these red flag projects, we turn to the president and engage in that process to ensure na yung mamomonitor ng mga projects talagang bumaba yung mga raw materials dyan at i-ensure na tama talaga yung location ng mga projects na ito.
Well, it's clear that the only limited resource here is time, and time is what we need to cleanse the budget. We do hope, maganda yung insights ninyo, we do hope that a study comes out, a paper on loopholes in the budget. Nakikita na natin ngayon, unti-unti, nag-unfold na, pero medyo matatagalan nga. Ang proposal ko lang, gumawa kayo ng ng libro, How to Get Away with Corruption for Dummies. Diba? Pwede yun.
Nako. Oo. Pero Gretch, actually, meron na kaming studies. No? Iniimbitahan ko po yung publiko na ibisitahin ang 2026-budget.bettergov.ph. All the tables, the line items from the time in the last year's House budget, to every step of the process this year, from the House to the Senate to the BICAM, ay may kita nyo po dito sa 2026-budget.bettergov.ph. Even our analysis, Gretch, on the red flags na minention ko kanina, ay nandun din.
Nakalatag.
Nandun din. So, hopefully, citizens are better informed and we are empowered to really engage the budget process dahil bawat mamamayan po may karapatan na makialam sa budget natin na ginamit yung buwis natin na pinaghirapan natin.
Well, I am, and we are better informed here at Morning Matters. Maraming salamat for joining us today to explain and dissect the details of the budget and the bicameral conference. We have Ken Abante, co-convener of the People's Budget Coalition. Keep up the great job, and we'll watch out for your work.
Maraming salamat, Gretchen.
Up next, the Philippine Embassy in Washington urges Filipino Americans to stay calm as worries mount over a proposed U.S. law targeting dual citizenship. All that and more when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. The Philippine Embassy in Washington has called on Filipino Americans to remain calm amid concerns over a U.S. bill that seeks to end dual citizenship. In an advisory, the embassy said it continues to monitor the situation and address community concerns regarding the Senate bill. It emphasized that the proposal is currently just a bill and has not been enacted into law. The embassy also warned that voluntary renunciation of Philippine citizenship is irreversible. The Department of Health says zero balance billing may soon cover some local government hospitals by 2026. The DOH says the Senate has included a 1 billion peso budget for the expansion of the program during the bicameral budget talks. With the proposed funding, the DOH says it can pilot zero balance billing in level 3 LGU hospitals in about 6 to 8 provinces. The DOH says the program could be expanded further if additional funds are approved as the bicameral deliberations continue. And to further discuss this matter, we are joined by DOH Spokesperson Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo. Good morning. Welcome back to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Gretchen, and good morning to everyone watching us this morning.
Okay, there was this whole debate over the weekend over the MAIFIP budget in particular. Just to put in the details right there, from 20, or rather, hahanapin ko lang From
20-something
49 billion in
something,
Congress, it went to 29 billion in the Senate, and now it sits at 51 billion in the BICAM. Are you happy at the Department of Health with this increase in budget with the MAIFIP program?
The DOH position is contained in the Senate's sabihin na natin amendment. na it's very, ano no, I'm very careful with the terms kasi the term insertion is heavily demonized. So the proper term, and it's not an insertion kasi it was properly discussed during the Senate version of the General Appropriations Bill. So it is an amendment. They inserted a provision or a line item called the zero balance billing expansion to local government unit hospitals. Sa amin nanggaling yung proposal na yun, Gretchen. There is an official letter from the Secretary of Health, Dr. Ted Herbosa, requesting that we increase the amount that will go direct to level 3 hospitals of the local government units. Gretchen, I was monitoring the BICAM, that this was Saturday night around 6 p.m. To 8 p.m. when the discussions were really intense when it came to the, not the whole DOH budget actually, in particular, the MAIFIP budget. And we were hoping that the Senate version, which our budget sponsor, the chair of the Finance Committee, Senator Win Gatchalian, adequately para bang proposed on the floor. But of course, as we saw, the decision went to increasing it to MAIFIP. Gretchen, mas mabilis kasi kung pupunta diretso sa LGU accounting. You know the secret behind DOH's no balance billing or zero balance billing? I have to use the terms properly. No balance billing is the old PhilHealth program na hindi natutupad uniformly kasi iba-iba yung mga hospitals, may DOH, may LGU, may private. It depends on who owns the hospital. If the owner of the hospital says, I'm going to foot your bill, I'm going to zero it out and make sure you go home without a centavo coming out from your pocket, yung may-ari ang magsasabi nun. So, if the DOH is able to do it because we have budget, we get it from somewhere. We get it from our maintenance and other operating expenditures and the retained income of our hospitals. To expand it to LGUs, we're looking for a way to put it in. MAIFIP, unfortunately, is not the way because MAIFIP, by its definition, says medical assistance for indigents and financially incapacitated patients, which means babalik tayo dun sa old model ng PhilHealth, yung dating model na hahanapan ka pa ng proof of income and so on and so forth. Ito, yung zero balance billing ng DOH, basta nagpa-admit ka sa isang basic accommodation or ward bed, wala nang tanong-tanong. Ikaw ay zero balance bill na.
Okay, so imbis na mapunta sa MAIFIP, mas gusto nyo mapunta ito doon sa provision allocating for LGUs.
Yes,
that provision is under which section of the budget?
I don't know the section number, but it was discussed. So I was monitoring. The senators were pointing to the screen nung Saturday night open BICAM. So they have a text copy of it. It was flashed on the screen. So I just don't know the exact provision number. Pero nandun siya. And it has an amount of around 1 billion. That's the best case scenario, Gretchen. There is another scenario na pwede rin naman yun sa MAIFIP ilagay, but ganito yung proposal ng Department of Health. Merong portion, large portion siguro mga 80%, go down to 70%, na ganun pa rin yung mechanism. Diretso na lang siya dun sa mga LGU hospitals, dun sa kanilang accounting, para ang usapan na lang is between the patient who is already admitted at basic accommodation of the LGU, tsaka dun sa billing section. Wala nang kailangan puntahan na politiko, hindi mo na kailangan pumunta sa DOH. Pag nandun ka na sa hospital, dumating na yung bill mo, actually hindi mo na nga kailangan, dapat nga pagdating ng bill mo, naka-zero na eh. That's the story behind zero balance billing of DOH. They don't even get a number on their bill because the accounting, the settling happens inside the office. Walang lako-lako, walang punta-punta, walang palakasan. Doon sa loob, sasabihin lang ng accountant, may budget pa ba dyan? Meron. Okay, zero out. Ganun lang kasimple. Now, that will be around 70 to 80% sana. This is scenario B. And then yung mga 20 to 30%, yun yung pwedeng iiwan na lang as what we call a catastrophic health fund. This exists in Singapore. They call it the MediFund. Yung MediFund sa Singapore, kapag hindi na kayanan nung subsidy ng mga hospitals in Singapore, kapag hindi pa rin nakayanan nung kanilang yung Medisure, which is their equivalent of PhilHealth, and yung Medisave nila, which is yung medical savings nila, then saka ka lang pupunta dun sa catastrophic health fund.
Akala ko kasaka ka pupunta sa politiko.
Hindi. Ayaw natin yan.
Okay, sabi ng House leadership, hindi pa raw handa ang ating health sector no, doon sa full implementation ng Universal Healthcare Law. Kaya kailangan pa itong budget dagdagan yung budget ng MAIFIP. At sabi ni House Appropriations Committee Chairperson Mika Swansing, an estimated 1.1 million patients would be affected by the proposed cut. Are you seeing the same impact?
Well, kailangan paliwanag natin kaya tatagalogin ko, no? Hindi naman mawawala yung pera. Ang tanong dito is saan siya dadaan? Nandiyan yung pera eh. Ano man ang mangyari, meron tayong nakikita, kumbaga kung nakalatag na yung baraha, magkano ang available na fiscal space? Magkano ang budget na available para pambayad sa pasyente? Pwede mong i-add yan. Anong mga i-add natin? Yung 113 billion na papunta sa PhilHealth, di ba? 60 plus 53, o 113 yun. Idagdag natin itong 51 na papunta sa MAIFIP. So, mahina ako sa math. 113, 51, 164. Tama ba? Di ba? Kaya tayo
yes,
medicine.
164.
164. So, ngayon, ang tanong sa health financing, ano yung pinakamabilis at pinakasabi na nating equitable? Sa Tagalog, yung pinakapatas na paraan para bayaran ang mga gastusing pangkalusugan. Yun yung pipili ka. Dadaan ba sa PhilHealth? Sabi ng Republic Act 7875, Gretchen, single payer system daw, pero 30 years na. Ang PhilHealth is around, 30 years old na or more or less na siya eh. So, 30 years old na yung PhilHealth, nakita naman natin yung out of pocket hindi tumatalab. So, let's be real. We are actually a multi-payer system and that's not bad. Singapore is a multi-payer system. You also have many other jurisdictions. Japan is also a multi-payer system. But there is a single dominant strategic purchaser. Tagalogin natin yon. May isang pinakamalaking nagbabayad. Isipin nyo ho kasi parang pakiawan
At sino
yan
dapat yun? At sino dapat yun? PhilHealth dapat yun.
Yan ang sinasabi ng mga kong. Ideally, PhilHealth. Okay, tanggapin natin yung argument nila. Tama ang mga honorables natin na sinabi nila, hindi nga fully functioning yung PhilHealth. Alam mo, on the side, Gretchen, yan rin yung sinabi namin sa Supreme Court dun sa desisyon dun sa Pimentel versus House of Representatives, yung 89.9. But of course, we followed the Supreme Court decision. We're not questioning it. Now, we look at the next best option. We don't think it has to be through the guarantee letters, which is a violation of another Supreme Court ruling, Belhica versus Executive Ochoa, yung nag-shoot down nung pork barrel noong 2013. Isang Supreme Court decision din yan eh. So, ang sinasabi ng DOH, caught between a rock and a hard place. Kumbaga, hindi umaandar ng, well, yung PhilHealth, mabuti nilang ang bagong CEO natin, saka yung active na board ngayon, talagang tumataas. Nasa 250 billion na 80-something% more. Tama ba yung figures ko? Basta nasa 250 billion na yung benefit payouts. Tumataas na yung bayad ng PhilHealth. But it takes time. Ang sinasabi ng DOH, ibigay dun sa line item na diretso papunta mula sa DOH, diretso papunta sa LGU para hindi ka nadadaan dun sa kusaan sa ang opisina. Yun yung zero balance billing model. Yun ang hinihingi namin. We're not saying abolish MAIFIP dahil meron ka paling maliit na katiting. Yun yung equivalent dun sa Catastrophic Health Fund ng Singapore na baka sa private, baka dun sa mga ospital na or mga klinika na hindi covered ng zero balance billing. Pero marami. No, yung tanong mo kanina, bago ako napakahabang intervention, yung 1 million patients na nasa-serve ng MAIFIP, masisilbihan pa rin po sila dahil lilipat lang yung pera dun sa daan.
In short, hindi nyo tinatanggihan yung extra funds. Kung may pera naman pala, kung kaya nyo magpasok ng additional na pera dito, ilagay nyo na lang sa sistema imbis na idaan sa mga politiko. That's loud and clear,
Correct.
But how is the zero balance billing program going with our DOH hospitals? Kamusta naman? Hindi naman nauubusan ng pondo sa ngayon?
Hindi. Yung ating statistics, simula nung SONA hanggang ngayon, kodigo lang muna ako, 1,078,164 patients na yung nasilbihan sa DOH hospitals. Imagine, Gretchen, kung mag-expand tayo sa LGU, siguro mga another 1 to 2 million patients yung kayang hawakan ng mga LGU hospitals. Yung tanong mo kung nauubusan ng pondo, yung mga hospital namin, nagsasabi sila, Secretary Erbosa, Sec Domingo, medyo malapit na tayo, kumbaga sa sa kotse yung gasolina umiilaw-ilaw na yung tangke. Pero sabi
Okay pa
naman
naman.
namin, Gretchen, pero sabi namin, that is the whole point of health financing. Hindi dapat binabangko ang pera. Ang pera dapat pinapaandar yung sistema, yung ospital. And we are now in December. Sabi nga namin, tama yung forecast ng Department of Health na magagamit ng maayos yung pera at meron kang 1 million plus patients na masisilbihan, and then we ask for money for the next year. Ganun dapat yung cycle.
Tama rin na yung timing siguro ng Pangulo dun sa kanyang SONA. There was enough funding left for the year. No? Now, speaking of the 60 billion budget that should be paid back to PhilHealth, paano kukunin yun? Hindi ko natanong kay Ken Abante kanina kung ano yung proseso niyan. Pero agree ba kayo na dinagdag na lamang siya dun sa 2026 budget? Hindi ba tama yung mga kritiko na sinasabi na parang binil nyo yung taong bayan ng 2 beses kung idadagdag at kukunin nyo lang sa tax at hindi nyo kinuha doon sa National Treasury or kung saan siya napunta. How do we get that back, that money back, that 60 billion pesos?
Hindi umabot yung kodigo ko dun sa segue ni Gretchen, pero I was looking at a copy of the 1987 Constitution. It's in my digital copy right now. Hindi ko lang mahanap yung exact number, but the lawyers say there is a provision there that says no money shall be paid out of the treasury except through appropriations. Sa madaling salita, Gretchen, I think you're getting it. Unless you put it in the budget bill, which becomes the budget law, government has no authorization to pay it out. That's the whole point of public finance management. The good Cardinal David, I read his piece, yung sinabi niya yung parang double charge or something like that.
Double billing.
May punto naman siya. Oo. But he is referring to revenue generation. Okay? Pwede ka pa rin maglagay sa General Appropriations Act ng utos na ibalik. Yun yung nakalagay dun sa budget bill ngayon. Ang tanong ngayon is saan kukunin yung pera? And yung opinion ng ating Cardinal is dapat hindi through tax generation, dapat through asset recovery. Pwede naman yun, that's an option, but these are kumbaga para bang may pros and cons. I've been monitoring other commentaries na nagsasabi, kasi kung asset recovery yan, aantayin mo yung until final conviction. Sabi ng mga lawyers na talagang hinatulan na siya ng Sandigan Bayan, mag-a-appeal pa yun sa Supreme Court. Pag sinabi ng Supreme Court, finally, tapos na yan, plunder ka or whatever case, ibalik mo yung pera, doon mo pa lang makukuha. Yan yung mga challenges kapag nagpapatakbo ka ng pera ng bayan.
So kumbaga parang that's the constitutional way of getting the money back is through appropriations.
The appropriations provides the legal authorization, spending authorization na pwede mong ibigay yung pera sa PhilHealth. Kung saan mo siya kukunin ay hiwalay na tanong. At dapat talagang sagutin doon mga debate na kukunin ba ito doon sa mga kontraktor na mako-convict, kukunin ba ito sa buwis. May isa pa, Gretchen, dahil advocate na rin tayo, taasan natin yung sin taxes. Wala naman siguro magdi-disagree pag buwisan mo yung alcohol, yung vape, tsaka yung sigarilyo. O baka doon pwede manggaling yon. So maraming options.
Okay. So in short, okay, magdadagdag tayo sa budget ng PhilHealth for 2026. But as to how that money or what it is composed of, yun yung subject for debate. Pero
Yes.
yun nga, would you have any idea if that money was already spent? Yung sa 60 billion na yun, how much of that was spent and where did it go?
Yung exact numbers hindi ko memorize pero alam ko yung mga expenditure items. 27 billion or something napunta dun sa Health Emergency Allowance, yung HEA na sinasabi na hindi nabayaran dun sa nakaraan. Ngayon, last year lang nabayaran dahil dito sa rather this year because of that particular 27 billion na kinuha. And then meron din tayong mga ospital, 3 DOH hospitals na pinondohan yung kanilang equipment and construction. Meron din akong naaalala na maraming equipment, various medical equipment and commodities na pumunta sa mga ospital. Meron lang 13 billion na ginastos naman dun sa counterpart financing for foreign assisted projects. Yun yung alam namin, dinidebate. Pero insofar as health is concerned, so bali 60 minus 13. So more or less mga 80-something% bumalik sa health sector, lalo na dun sa health emergency allowance ng mga kawawa nating healthcare workers. Ang tagal na
okay.
nilang hinihingi ito. So, okay, babalik ko yung tanong, kung mag-asset recovery ba tayo at pag-uusapan natin, kukunin natin yung HEA na binayad natin dun sa ating mga, it's a question,
okay.
Gretchen.
Oo. Yun nga siguro ang hinihingi din ng ng mga advocate, yung listahan kung saan to napunta.
Kaya
For some
nga,
semblance
sure
of
naman
accountability. Oo.
Gretchen, sure naman ako, Kapo Doktor, I'm sure yung mga health advocates ayaw nilang bawiin yung HEA unless they want to be purist about it. Kasi kung ganun yung advokasya, ilabas natin yung resibo. Wala.
Wala ba napunta sa ayuda?
Wala. Hindi kasi namin
Okay.
hindi namin pinapondohan yung mga ayuda. And
Ito yung excess funds, no? Just to be clear, the excess funds that was sent back to the National Treasury.
So the reason I'm smiling, Gretchen, is the term excess funds is frowned upon by the Supreme Court. And we follow the Supreme Court. So I will not call it excess funds. I'll just call it the amount that it is, 60 billion. Yun yung pinapabalik ng Supreme Court.
Okay. On a final point, there was also some debate over the budget increase in health centers of the DOH from 14 to 21 billion that was increased even with failures in implementation. Sinasabi dito ay meron nga tayong mga health center, incomplete naman o hindi naman umaandar. That's why LGUs and PPPs need to be involved here. So, what are you seeing here with the implementation side?
So you hit it straight on its head, yung sinabi na baka dapat hindi lang DPWH ang nag-i-implement. Ang hindi kasi naiintindihan ng ating mga kababayan, kapag tinignan mo yung budget law, yung ngayon, yung 2025 General Appropriations Act, doon sa Health Facilities Enhancement Program, merong special provision na nagsasabi kapag ang balor, ang amount ay 5 million and above, DPWH ang gagawa. So we're sure and we think that Secretary Vince Dizon is trying to clean the ranks, etc. Hot item din sila kagabi, no? Pero ang sabi nga ngayon na the DOH agrees with the proposal na wag nang i-restrict na DPWH lang ang gagawa. Hayaan natin yung mga LGUs at saka yung mga iba pang minsan kasi pwedeng PPP, pwedeng via LGU procurement, yung mga ibang modalities para hindi sa Tagalog, hindi naiipit yung pera sa isang tagagastos lang, which dati DPWH. Simula nung nagkaroon ng flood control controversy, syempre natakot ng gumastos ang karamihan sa mga district engineers. Kaya ang implementation rate ngayon ng HFEP talagang hindi gumalaw simula noong mga July onwards kasi ayaw ng gumastos.
Okay, maraming salamat for breaking that down for us and helping us understand the developments over at the health sector. Medyo nagkaroon kami ng kalinawan ngayon. Sana nga madagdagan kayo ng pondo pero malagay sa tama ito. Maraming salamat for your time today. We have DOH spokesperson ASEC Albert Domingo.
Thank you so much, Gretchen.
In other news, 3 Filipino fishermen were injured when China Coast Guard vessels sprayed their boats with water cannons and cut their anchor lines in a disputed area of the South China Sea. PCG spokesperson Commodore J. Tariela emphasized that the actions against Filipino fishermen are a serious violation of human rights. He said the fishermen are civilians with legitimate sovereign rights to fish within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone.
I would like to emphasize that this is serious violation of the human rights of the ordinary Filipino fishermen, considering that these are civilian and they have legitimate sovereign rights as Filipinos to fish within our own exclusive economic zone.
Meanwhile, mamamayang Liberal Party list Representative Laila de Lima said the latest harassment is utterly outrageous and deeply concerning. Senator Risa Hontiveros urged the government to provide regular PCG escorts and ensure adequate funding to protect Filipino fishers operating in the West Philippine Sea. Let's move on over to sports. Team Philippines continued its strong performance on Day 5 of the Southeast Asian Games 2025 in Thailand, racking up more medals and maintaining 6th place in the overall standings. The country has so far won a total of 118 medals, 17 golds, 32 silvers, and 69 bronze medals. Now, among the gold medalists is Philippine wushu star Agatha Wong, who claimed her 6th SEA Games gold. She scored a 9.773 in Tai Chi Tian and 9.783 in Tai Chi Tian, the highest among competitors, for a combined total of 19.556.
I just trained really hard this year. I gave it my all. I had so much breakdown, so much on my plate. Pinaka naging challenge ko talaga is yung mental game. You know, it's really easy to make a mistake. It's really easy to fall sa jumps mo. Kahit na mag-training ka ng maayos, mag-training ka everyday for a year, if your mentality isn't nice, may hina ka talaga. You're going to fall. So, I think I just let myself feel yung kaba. And then eventually, pagdating ko sa carpet, okay na.
And you can catch the Southeast Asian Games until December 20 right on One Sports. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.